Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm your host, David McCann with ZipBy Parking. Thank you so much for joining us today on the first of our series of webinars on the Touchless Parking Future. Today, we're going to start our discussion by talking about the very first steps in going touchless. And so we've called our first episode Preparing to Go Touchless. But first, a short introduction to who ZipBy Parking is. We are a software company that's located in Bangalore, India, and we started with a fairly simple vision. We wanted that future where driving in a smart city, our car would drop us off at a restaurant, proceed to park itself, and then come pick us back up from that same restaurant when we were ready to leave. But we knew that to make that smart city, to make that future a reality, we knew that the industry would need a parking platform, something that could connect the physical infrastructure of the parking world with customers and other service providers. And so that became how we started. We built that parking platform. But while we think we've created some really excellent solutions that in some cases we think are the best the industry has, we also know that many of our ecosystem partners have built fabulous products of their own, and we work with many of them. So we asked them, hey, can you come and present your solution with us? We want that parking future to be a reality faster, and if we can make that happen by making your decisions around what to do next with touchless parking in your properties, well, this was what we could give to do that. So we're going to have a short introduction today from two speakers. First of all, we've got Kevin Woznicki from ParkTrans. He's a principal partner, and Kevin is based in New Jersey. And we've got Brooks Ellis, who is the president for the Americas with ZipBy. And Brooks, most of the time these days, is based in Miami, Florida. Now, our agenda is quite simple. We're going to have Kevin help us understand the various definitions of touchless parking. And Brooks is going to talk to us about ZipBy's vision of the future of touchless parking and the types of solutions that they can offer. And then finally, we'll conclude with a Q&A session. And introduce us again to Brooks and pass the reins over to him.
Excellent. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, great. And hopefully you've got the deck up on the screen now.
Yeah, you're good there.
Good deal. All right, so we'll go ahead and jump in here. So we're talking today about touchless solutions. There's a lot to consider when deciding what touchless solutions will have the greatest long-term outcome for your asset. I do think it's important to think about this opportunity as a long-term strategic investment in the asset, though, not just a stopgap response to a stimulus. Obviously, that's a motivating factor and one that's taking over a lot of the industry right now. But as you make these decisions, it's important, to have the long game in mind. So I've listed some important considerations, but this is not meant to be a definitive list. It's merely a prompting to get the juices flowing around the discussion. So feel free on your own to kind of add and delete from this list, build from it, your own specifications. But I'd urge you to make sure to take time to consider what it is you're aiming for before you pull the trigger. So let's get down to the list. Cost and total cost of ownership, right? Super important. It's not just how much it costs at installation, but what you'll spend on preventative maintenance, repairs, warranty costs, consumables, and their replacement clip for cards and transponders and the like. Interoperability. So how well will this solution fit into the existing solution set you already have deployed? And what impacts, both intended and unintentional, will it have once you turn it on? Security is a big one. We're all very familiar with PCI now, no longer a new concept. So that one's clear, but what about privacy, access, and data protection? There's concerns that are clear and present today, and those that are quickly surfacing around the world as it relates to how we identify a user and what we do with that data. So it's important to consider, again, both the short and long-term considerations with regard to security. Future Internet of Things compatibility. If it's not going to be able to plug into the IoT network, then it's probably not an effective long-term strategy. I'll leave that one there. The hardware footprint. So what physical plant changes, related costs need to be considered. That can be, very minimal or massive, depending on what technology you're putting in and what it means to the physical footprint there at your location for civil and wiring and all the different considerations there. Next, network infrastructure. How will this solution fit into your existing network infrastructure? Product lifespan. So, we talked about warranty, component reliability, super important, expected life cycle, knowing how long each component that you install should expect to perform, understanding the volumes at your location and what impact that may have on the expected life cycle. Those are super important considerations. But basically, how long will this solution be viable? And is it upgradable, or will it need to be removed and replaced at the end of its life expectancy? Revenue control. So is the solution you're planning to install potentially susceptible to slippage? That would seem quite obvious, I guess, at the surface level, but let me tell you, people are very creative when it comes to evading parking systems. Just Google how to avoid paying for parking, and you'll find volumes of tips and tricks to slip past the barrier without paying up, right? Next, feature set. Does the solution meet your current needs? Potentially provide features that allow you to save money by eliminating other programs, and most importantly, have an ability to grow with you as your needs evolve. And then lastly, Parker acceptance. This is pretty important, right? I didn't rank order these, but if I did, it'd definitely be much higher on the list. Ultimately, is there high confidence that people will use the solution once it's put in place? Now, I want you to think back for just a second to a time when most parking operations were cash only. Believe it or not, it wasn't that long ago, but it seems like an eternity because of all the change that's occurred in the meantime. It's well documented that things can change quickly given the right stimulus, but generally these changes happen slowly over the course of time in many different industries. And I would say more specifically, potentially slowly in the parking industry. And then there's a tipping point. I'd suggest that today we're on the edge of one of those tipping points. So mobile access credentialing is the future of access controls. We can see it all around us already today. And to take that a step further, I'll also suggest that I know it's the right solution because it's such a huge part of who we are. Your phone is an extension of yourself. It's highly unlikely that you would let someone else hold it, and I'm willing to bet there's no way you're letting someone borrow your smartphone. So as you work down the list of considerations on the prior slide with this context, I think you'll find that mobile access credentialing checks most, if not all, of the boxes. But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. Let's first take a look at mobile apps and smartphone ownership to provide a little more insight into why mobile access credentialing is the future of touchless parking and touchless payments, contact tracing, border controls, and personal identification. I'll stop there, but you can see the path, right? We're at a tipping point. Enter ZipBy. So what is ZipBy and what do we do? ZipBy is a comprehensive, truly touchless, frictionless and ticketless parking access control solution, parking revenue control solution, parks. That can be installed alongside any other parks or as a standalone system. ZipBy enables parkers to locate, reserve, access, validate, and pay for their parking, while it enables operators to control access, revenue validations, data, and congestion, while providing permit management, dynamic pricing, deep analytics of parker demographics, and the critical infrastructure to enable the last mile continuum for the autonomous vehicle program. So ZipBy can be installed as a component of a larger platform solution like Get My Parkings to allow for perfectly accurate touchless access as an upgrade to the existing solution or as your total parking access and revenue control solution. I said on the intro slide that it's a truly touchless app. So touchless is touchless, right? Well, actually, no. Many apps utilize Bluetooth for credentialing and payments. It's quick, accurate, and native on every smartphone. But only ZipBy powers Bluetooth credentialing at the parking gate without even touching the smartphone. It works in the background, and it ensures drivers keep their hands on the wheel and their eyes straight ahead. That's great news for your lane equipment, as I'm sure all of you are probably way too familiar with the tire marks and equipment damage in this picture that are the result of distracted driving in the lane. Now, let's take a quick look at ZipBy in action. You'll be able to see up on the screen here my smartphone up on the dash to allow for real-time visibility into what happens in a ZipBy transaction. But pay close attention because it happens really fast. And just like that, it's over. Raising the gate arm before the vehicle even comes to a rest without any interaction from the driver. A mighty handsome driver too, if I say so myself. So parking facilities have an access control problem because many of the existing park solutions are expensive to run and maintain, frustrating for parkers and operators, and ultimately ineffective in delivering actionable insights at a high level. And oftentimes they're isolated from other services the operators offer, and even more so isolated in the sense that the systems operate in silos at the site level rather than as a network. So in contrast, the ZipBy solution is much more cost effective, both short and long term, with zero maintenance and a 10-year warranty. Additionally, ZipBy does not require the gates for tariff collection. So even if the gates get damaged, your revenue capture is safe with ZipBy. Frictionless, ticketless, truly contactless, because ZipBy runs in the background on the user's phone and again, doesn't require any action from the driver, which you saw. You can get key data on volumes, revenue, and other KPIs at a glance on our dashboard or in-depth through the reporting engine. But with ZipBy, you'll be able to also have demographic data and reports to better understand who that specific individual parker is rather than just the car used at your facility or the time of the transaction and value of it. You can view utilization by parker age, gender, their home zip code, or frequency and day or amount of time spent at the location, day visited or time spent at the location. And lastly, we covered being future ready as a top consideration earlier. The ZipBy system connects your facility to autonomous vehicle credentialing, packaged network service offerings, transport grid commercial agreements, or ride sharing and micromobility, or even your conversion to going completely gateless. ZipBy enables your operation to grow and expand offerings, both today and into the unforeseeable future. So let me sum up our vision for the future of touchless parking. Again, I've suggested that we're at a tipping point. Maybe we've actually already tipped, but one thing is for sure. We are fully subscribed to smartphones as a part of our sense of self. Acknowledging that truth allows you to see a path forward where the one most convenient and accurate credential that we always have with us is our smartphone. It doesn't matter if we're traveling in a rental car or our spouse's vehicle, or we forget an access card in yesterday's jeans pocket, or if we're parking on street, off street, taking a bus, riding a scooter, credentialing at a door, an elevator, presenting a ticket at the sporting arena, or just letting the vehicle park itself while we go to dinner. ZipBy will power that access. So you'll want to ensure that your facility is a part of this network so that you don't get passed by.
Thank you so much for that, Brooks. It was fabulous.
Yeah, thank you. I'll pass it back over to David.
Interject right here, but in interest of everybody's time, I thought we'd get some audience questions to put across to the two of you. Let me just take back over here for a second and transition to this screen. So I think we had a couple of great questions, and that was a really fabulous presentation. I want to thank you both. Brooks, that was really detailed, wonderful, good stuff in there, and Kevin, thank you as well. So I thought we would take 2 minutes just to field a couple of questions, and then I'll close out the presentation for today. So the first one, it comes from Krishnan, and he asked us a simple question of Brooks. What happens if the customer's cell phone or mobile device is off because the battery's dead, let's say?
Yeah, absolutely. So the great thing is many vehicles driving in, you're plugged in when you're in your vehicle. So hopefully that's not a problem. But obviously any kind of mobile credentialing through your mobile device is going to require that it has battery.
All right. Okay. And one question for Kevin. Unfortunately, that's all the time we got for today. Uh, so, Kevin, there's a question that came from Fabio, and he's asked about the limitations on the widespread adoption of touchless. Can you take us through pretty quickly what you see as big challenges?
Is the what may slow the adoption? Is that?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
I think there's a few things, David and Fabio. Thanks for the question. And again, as much as we hate to address it, we are in a bit of a holding pattern, whether it's public or private. There's certainly a lot of discussion. I know we have never been busier, but there's a lot of discussions going on about how to address moving forward with touchless. But so that's a slower one. I think a second thing is the need to develop an easy to use, easy to install, affordable solution. And I'm going to put this back in here with the proper integrations to make it happen. And I think both companies in this call are doing a very good job at that. You need to fit into an existing infrastructure. And I think the other thing is what we're doing today, educating people not on touchless, but on touchless solutions. So the continued education of how people like ZipBy and companies like ZipBy and Get My Parking can actually affect the change by just helping to educate the industry as to what's available.
Well, that's well said, Kevin. Thank you so much for sharing. So, as a quick recap of that, so what we heard was uncertainty, cost, and interconnectability. I'm making up that word today, but the ability to connect to various stakeholders in the industry are big potential obstacles that need to be overcome today. So I think I'll take just a quick moment for Get My Parking here, just to recap the webinar for today. And I'm going to have one poll question for those of you to give us some feedback on what you'd like to hear more from us next time. But first thing, what we heard today was at the core, there are two things that an operator requires in order to start that touchless journey. Very simple. You need a way to connect the customer, so you need an app, and you need something to connect to your equipment. And then you need something that will allow you to connect to various pieces of access control and various other infrastructure elements within the business. And that's where Get My Parking ties in with what ZipBy does. If ZipBy is the best solution for your business, there are still many wonderful solutions that Get My Parking can provide through a partnership with ZipBy or directly to your business. You can see several of them on the left here. For example, intelligent enforcement solutions are a specialty of ours. We have some pretty outstanding solutions in Europe with our mobility hubs. We also can provide autonomous parking services, and we have some great on-street parking solutions as well. Now, in interests of putting together webinars that are of more value to you going forward, I'd like to ask a few questions here through this poll. So I'm just going to pop this on the screen right now. This is multiple choice. You can pick as many as you like. What we would really like to hear from the audience today is, what should we talk about next? Who do you want us to bring on and present to you to help make your decision around what to do next a little bit simpler? I'll give this a quick minute right here, and then we'll close it off. Oh, I forgot to say, I'll share the results with everybody once we're done. So while we wait for the results to come in, I'm just going to turn the screen over here and leave us on this final Contact Us page. Now, should anybody wish to know more about Get My Parking, the website is visible on the screen right here, as is our key point of contact, which is shine@getmyparking.com. You can also call us on our phone number listed here as well.